The iPhone 15 Pro Max sucks. For now. So I just upgraded from the 13 Pro Max, and I've been using the 15 Pro Max for, about a month or so. Long enough for it to become fully incorporated as a part of my life, I guess. So now I want to break down some key differences and some of my gripes actually about using the 15 Pro Max. To not immediately shred apart the 15, I want to go over some clear pros first. First of all, the camera. The camera rocks. You might have guessed, but that's what I'm using to record this video right now. It's really good. The 48 megapixel sensor on the 15 Pro Max totally rocks the 12 megapixel sensor on the 13 Pro Max when you're shooting RAW. Also, I really prefer the 5x zoom over the 3x zoom on the 13 Pro Max. I love shooting telephoto, and it's just that extra bit of clarity that you get when you're shooting at the 5x optical zoom. It does make a difference. It's great to have the 5x magnification with no digital zoom, so there's no grain, there's no quality loss. It's awesome. Next, some pros are the dynamic island and the always-on display. I guess I don't really use the dynamic island very much, but it's nice to have your maps, your phone calls, your music, your multimedia, whatever you have playing. It's nice to have it all just up on top of your dynamic island. It makes changing things, like changing the song that you're playing, maybe pausing the music, a little less cumbersome compared to the swiping down from the control center and changing it from there. It's just nice to have that little less depth, kind of the controls feel closer than if you were to open up the whole app or if you were to take up your whole screen, opening up the control center. That's just something I like. And then the always on display. It's nice to have the time always showing, or to see your music through it, or to even glance at your notifications. Like I said, it makes using the phone less cumbersome. It makes it feel a little easier to use, a little nicer as the consumer. And then last of the pros is the USB-C port. I guess I really don't have any use for the full, USB 3 capabilities of the port, but it's honestly just a really nice thing to have. It's great to have all of my devices, or at least most of them, charged with only one cable. My laptop is from HP and it uses USB-C. I have Raycon earbuds and they use USB-C. It's nice to really only need one cable. Besides my AirPod Maxes, which still use Lightning, but I heard the new generation's coming out with USB-C, so who knows how that'll be. And it's really nice just to have the option if I need it for fast data transfer compared to the USB 2 standard that Lightning was built off of. I think it's just an added bonus for everybody. Alright, enough with the pros. Let's kind of break down why you're really here. Let's get to some of the not so great things with upgrading to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. To begin, there's just a lot of updates and features that have no real use for me. Like the titanium sides. It's cool, I guess, but it really doesn't make any difference, especially when I have the case on. It's like just any other phone. The action button, while useful for some people, I've heard of a lot of great testimonies of people using it for cool things. For me, it doesn't have much use. I've tried the flashlight, I've tried shortcuts, and really I just left it as the mute switch because that's where the mute switch used to be. And the updated processor, the A17 Bionic, doesn't have much use for me either. I'll get on that in a little bit, so just stick with me. But for this purpose, like gaming or high workloads, I don't really need any of that, I guess. The iPhone 13 Pro Max with the A15 chip really served me just as well. And then the battery life. And again, there's a little bit of an asterisk with this one, and I'll expand on it in a bit. But the battery life is a lot worse. And that's because I opted to use the iOS 18 beta, and I understand that there has been some issues with that. But still, I kind of want to break down how much worse the battery life has been. The iPhone 13 Pro Max, I didn't really take good care of the battery, to be honest. I'd leave it plugged in all night. I'd sporadically charge it here and there when I get in the car, for example. But even with that beating that battery took, it would easily last the day and end with anywhere from 60 to 50% left by the time I got into bed. But the iPhone 15 Pro Max, while I haven't changed any of my lifestyle or any of how I use the phone, really, it ends the day with anywhere from 20 to 15% left. And that's, yes, I know it's not dead, but I guess it's a little stressful. I don't want my phone to die. I don't want to be left without it in case I need it. So having to worry about it dying or needing to be charged at the end of the day is kind of just an extra layer that, as a consumer, I don't want to have to think about. And the on-paper specs of the battery say it should be better. So I just hope that the public release of iOS 18 kind of fixes that, because right now with the iOS 18 beta, it's not looking too hot. Next up is overheating. Now, the phone hasn't ever shut itself off due to overheating, but I have noticed it slowing itself down, that's for sure. There's some times where it gets uncomfortably hot to the touch, and it's something I can really only blame the upgraded processor for, that I mentioned earlier. At normal times when I'm texting or watching YouTube or scrolling on a Facebook Marketplace, the phone gets really hot, like surprisingly hot. And it seems to be an issue just with the cooling solution on that processor. And it kind of is a shame to see, because it does make the phone slow down. Animations get choppy and apps take longer to open, and it's just something that my 13 Pro Max didn't have an issue with. When using it normally, not in the sun or anything like that, it would never have any problems with heat. So it's a shame seeing the iPhone 15 Pro Max suffer from that. So I guess that kind of wraps up the overarching cons that I have, without getting into too much detail, I guess. But for me, the cons outweigh the pros, honestly. Taking everything I just said into account, I would switch back to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But here's why I won't. The promises revealed by Apple about Apple Intelligence are really intriguing to me. I feel that with this ever-growing market of AI in recent years, that Apple is bringing a lot to the table. With image generation, object removal, text editing, text generation, all these things, it seems like it's going to be great to have all of these tools baked into your phone. Some issues I have with using AI tools right now is there's no local spot for it all. You need to log into a website for ChatGPT, and you need to get an app for image object removal. It's just all these things kind of are all in different places. So companies like Samsung, Google, and Apple baking these things into your phone straight in the software, it's honestly a great thing to see. With Apple Intelligence only coming to the iPhone 15 series, it kind of feels like I need to stick with it. I really feel that, yes, the iPhone 15 Pro Max was not the best upgrade for me now. But I feel that Apple Intelligence is really going to make the iPhone 15 Pro. And hopefully, in the future, the iPhone 15 Pro Max will stand out as a better upgrade for me. Well, that's what I think, but I'll update you guys when iOS 18 or when Apple Intelligence starts rolling out. I'd love to make a video about all that stuff and see how it really impacts using the phone. But for now, I guess I'm stuck with the iOS 18 beta that drains all my battery. Well, guess I'll see you guys later.